We are coming on the air with the whiplash and the walk back in Washington as President Trump does a 180, mostly, on his tariffs for now. And if you're confused, the markets are too. What it all means for the price you pay for the stuff you need. Then, for the first time since he was hospitalized, the Pope appearing publicly with a new message just hours ago. We're live at the Vatican with more on that. Plus, some other breaking news just into us. Officials in New Mexico say somebody who died tested positive for measles. The new investigation now into this death and the potential for another outbreak in a different state. Plus, details on the new ruling just minutes ago saying Adnan Syed will not have to return to prison in a case that the Serial podcast made famous. Then, in the original, our reporter goes one-on-one with the Oklahoma leader who's ready to send Trump-backed Bibles to schools across the state. Then, is the way to keep human error out of Major League Baseball to replace the humans? A report card on the league's robo-umpire testing later on in the show. Hey, I'm Hallie, and we are starting tonight with the whiplash and the confusion coming out of the White House, with President Trump now backing down on the tariffs he was holding strong on less than 48 hours ago, pressing pause on some tariffs to Canada and Mexico. That's after his initial announcement, remember, wiped out that so-called Trump bump in the markets and threatened to raise the price of hundreds of products for you. Okay, so if you're like, lay it on me, what's exempt now? What's tariffed? What's not? Here's what's exempt. Basically, just about everything that's part of that big trade deal that the president made in his first term. A White House official says that includes about half of the imports from Canada, more than a third from Mexico. We're talking stuff like cars, produce, key fertilizer components. Farmers are going to like that. Still, you see the Dow, the S&P, the NASDAQ, all in the red at the closing bell in the last hour. The president, who often points to the markets when they're going well, saying this time around, he's not really paying attention.
I'm not even looking at the market because long term, the United States will be very strong with what's happening here. I think it's globalists that see how rich our country is going to be and they don't like it.
All of it's coming as we are also getting some new rumblings that an executive order to dismantle the Department of Education may be in the works. To be clear, that's not something the president can do unilaterally, but he can get pretty close. Kelly O'Donnell is going to break that down in just a second, but I want to start with Brian Chung for what this all means for your money. Brian, 24 hours ago, you and I talked about, and you coined the phrase, Schrodinger's tariffs. Are they on? Are they off? Where are they? When are they hitting? There's basically a pause in place for now after a whole lot of drama over the last 12 hours. What is the most important thing we should know?
Yeah, I mean, I stand by that. Schrodinger's tariffs. We don't know if they're on. We don't know if they're off. And if you thought we were going to get any more clarity after the announcement today that those exemptions are getting wider, it's going to get a little bit more confusing because now you have to go line item by line item through the USMCA, again, that trade agreement that was brokered with Mexico and Canada during Trump's first administration to figure out what is compliant, in which case it no longer gets that 25% tariff treatment. Or if it's not compliant with the USMCA, then it doesn't get that 25% treatment. Or it does get that 25% treatment. See, I'm already getting a little bit confused there. But look, at the end of the day, what we do know is that the Trump administration is only allowing this to be a temporary stay on the tariffs for about a month, because we're going to revisit this on April 2nd when, by the way, he wants to do those reciprocal tariffs on basically every other country as well. But here's the measuring stick for the Trump administration is the trade deficit. And the trade deficit right now sits at $131.4 billion. That is higher by about $33 billion. And the president wants to lower that. He wants to make sure that we are exporting more than we're exporting right now to balance the amount that we're bringing in from other countries like Canada and Mexico. And here's kind of the spirit of what we'd heard from the Trump administration in the words of Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Take a listen.
The American dream is rooted in the concept that any citizen can achieve prosperity, upward mobility, and economic security. For too long, the designers of multilateral trade deals have lost sight of this.
And that commentary from the Treasury Secretary is going to be so critical as we go into the next stages of this trade war, because as you remember, the White House has framed these 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico and China as well as a fentanyl-related thing. The actual trade-related policy, the White House says at least, is going to be coming April.
Let me play this moment here from the Commerce Secretary, who has been out there, you know, depending how you look at it, either floating trial balloons or advancing some of the policies of the White House on the various business cable shows. Here's Howard Lutnick on CNBC with our colleague Sarah Eisen talking about sort of production potentially returning to the United States. Watch this.
T-shirts,
is the golden
sneakers,
age,
towels.
and you're talking about it today.
Are we going to make all those things in the United States? None of them are made here. TVs, electronics.
Why did we stop? Because we entered into an illogical world of low tariffs here and high tariffs there.
Are there some things that no matter how hard the president tries with this tariff pressure campaign are just not going to be made in the U.S. again?
Well, I mean, you heard the examples of clothing and T-shirts, but I think a more apt comparison is actually with the automotive industry because of the way that things are set up right now. The reason why the automotive industry was the reason for why we got the exemption for that industry yesterday and then expanded today is because the automotive industry is so deeply tied to the ties between our neighbors to the north and south. We bring in parts from Mexico. We assemble a lot of the cars entirely in Canada and provinces like Ontario, and then we bring it back into the U.S. So someone that lives in Scranton, Pennsylvania, that buys a Ford pickup truck might be buying a car that, if these tariffs were put into effect, would have been tariffed multiple times because the supply chains have been like that for decades. So, yeah, all right, if you want America to reshore some of these things, that definitely is something that could happen over the long run. But it's certainly not something that you can do in 1 month, which is kind of the period of time that the Trump administration is giving the automotive industry to handle all of this before these tariffs could come back into place on April 2nd, Hallie. Again, that's just a very, very complicated thing to do.
So bottom line, though, pause for now. We're going to do this all again in about 3.5 weeks, right? I mean, that's the bottom line.
That's exactly it, and I'll be right here.
Can't wait. Consider yourself booked. Brian Chung, thank you very much. I want to go to Kelly O'Donnell, who's live for us at the White House. And Kelly, I think it's fair to say that President Trump has worked to build a brand around this idea of not backing down, right? This brand of sort of characteristic defiance in the face of controversy here. In this instance, with these tariffs that we're talking about, it is a walk back. It is a reversal from what he had initially signaled here. So why?
Well, I think you could add another dimension to his brand, and that is the ability to pivot and the ability to try to show that he is magnanimous and is able to make some kind of an extension to people who are, or entities, companies, countries that want to have an issue with one of his policies. So, yes, the chaos theory is at play. There's some rinse and repeat that's happening here. And the president likes to be at the center of the dynamics. And clearly, this keeps putting him in the center of the dynamics because he is able to engage directly with leaders like the president of Mexico or the big three automakers or whomever else comes in line with a credible case they want to make about why his policy is going to cost them and their customers some kind of price that the president could help to avoid. And so that is part of what we're seeing here in terms of the president not wanting to back down, but being able to own the moment and pivot.
So on that point, Kelly, let me ask you about a different topic, but sort of the same overall thread, which is Doge. You know, this Elon Musk-led push, the group, the organization that is leading the charge to slash the federal workforce. Earlier today, the president said he's thinking about Doge as more of a scalpel and not a hatchet. He was asked about those workforce cuts today. Watch.
I said, I want the cabinet members go first. Keep all the people you want, everybody that you need. Elon and the group are going to be watching them. And if they can cut, it's better. And if they don't cut, then Elon will do the cutting.
Okay, so putting the authority into the hands of the cabinet members, saying keep who you need. Is this also, Kelly, in your read, based on the folks that you're talking to, is this also an instance of the president, to a degree, pivoting or, as you say, owning the moment?
I think it's exactly that. And that is, again, a case where the president has been hearing from members of Congress who have expressed concerns. He's hearing from cabinet officials. He's seeing some of the real world effects where veterans are talking about the fact that 30% of the federal workforce are veterans. If you're firing en masse, you're going to hit a lot of veterans. And this is a way where he can try to look like he is responsive to that. And being able to go to the department heads, the cabinet secretaries, and say, keep the best, find ways to make cuts. And in the words of the president, if you can't do it, then Elon will. Again, noting he is not the administrator of Doge, which is a point that the White House has strained itself to make. And yet the president consistently refers to the power of Doge being in Elon Musk's hands.
Kelly O'Donnell, live for us there outside the White House. Kelly, thank you very much. President Trump is also starting to answer the question on the minds of millions of Americans with student loans, right? If you have a student loan and it comes, you know, through the way that the federal government works, there's this question: what happens if he does end up getting rid of the Department of Education? right? That is something that could impact so many people in this country. Well, the president says those loans would be handled by a different department, by a department that is left standing if he shuts down DOE. Watch.
That would be brought into either Treasury or Small Business Administration or Commerce. And we've actually had that discussion today. I don't think the education should be handling the loans. That's not their business.
The president's expected to issue an executive order at some point to his new Secretary of Education to totally dismantle the department she's in charge of. Remember, the president campaigned on this. He campaigned on ending the DOE, essentially, and now you have Secretary Linda McMahon calling on her colleagues at that department to join her in what she calls an historic final mission, rather ominously for the department. NBC's Ryan Nobles is following this for us, and the reason why we're talking to you, our Capitol Hill correspondent, about this is because President Trump cannot technically get rid of the Department of Education without Congress getting on board. And right now there are at least some Republicans, a couple of them, who do not seem to be on board, right?
Yeah, that's right, Hallie. And I do think that many of the members of Congress that we talked to about this today are holding their fire a bit until they find out exactly the form and fashion in which this executive order is ultimately delivered. But you're exactly right that over the course of the campaign, Donald Trump made it very clear that he thought the Department of Education was unnecessary, that he wanted to return and give the power of education decisions to be placed in the hands of state and state governments. And so this is something that members of Congress have been bracing for. And while it would be almost impossible for him to completely eliminate the Department of Education without the help of Congress, he could do a lot to upend it and make it a lot different than what it looks like right now. And there were a couple of Republicans that seem a bit nervous about what the next steps could be. Listen to what they told us.
Do you support the idea of getting rid of the Department of Education?
No, I think that the Department of Education actually has some functions that we think are important.
I believe it could be downsized and that it has grown too bureaucratic and too big. The decision on whether to abolish the department is one that only Congress can make.
So you see Susan Collins, they're making it very clear to the White House that this is their decision, not his. And there are Republicans that are concerned that this organization, this agency has grown too big and has too much purview. But keep in mind, part of the reason that that happened is because Congress has decided there are certain things as it relates to education that the federal government should be involved in. And that's why the department was created. And that's why it has so much responsibilities underneath it. To just systematically take it apart would really disrupt the education system in America. And I do think there are members of Congress that are concerned about the way that could play itself out.
Before I let you go, Ryan, can I just ask you about this very dramatic moment we saw on the House floor this morning, or I guess it was midday, when the House moved to censure Congressman Al Green. I think people remember he's the one who sort of shook his cane, stood up at the joint address this week and shook his cane at the president. He was like removed, taken out of the chamber, walked out here. I want to play this moment, and then I'm hoping you can help us understand it.
The House has resolved that Representative Al Green be censured, that Representative Al Green forthwith present himself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure, and that Representative Al Green be censured with public reading of this resolution by the Speaker.
Okay, so you've got yelling, you've got shouting, you've got, I think some of the Democrats have gathered to sing "We Shall Overcome." It's all happening as there is this question of how Democrats are cohesively working to strategically sort of get on board with anti-Trump messaging, right?
Yeah, Hallie, what you saw play out here this morning is a perfect representation of how the Democrats are moving in a million different directions when it comes to their response to Donald Trump. I mean, there were 10 Democrats that voted in favor of this censure of Al Green, who thought that the way that he behaved inside the House chamber that night was not helpful, that didn't work toward their ultimate goal of trying to counterbalance the Trump administration and rein in the work that Trump and his administration are already doing in the early parts of their campaign. Or their administration. But on the other hand, there is a whole group of Democrats who feel that they should be bitterly opposing every single thing Donald Trump does, every opportunity that they have. And that's why you saw 10 vote yes in favor of the censure, but then a whole group of them join Al Green in the well, which is really the only punishment that you receive for getting a censure, is this kind of public admonishment from the rest of the body, and sing "We Shall Overcome" as a way of showing unity. And, you know, this was really part of what Al Green wanted, right? He wanted this moment to live on beyond what happened last night, and he seemed to take that censure on with a degree of happiness that he was getting this public admonishment because he was proud of what he did. But not every Democrat was, and that's part of their problem right now as they look to challenge the Trump administration, Hallie.
Ryan Noble's live for us on the Hill. Good to see you, Ryan. Thank you very much for being with us. Let's take you overseas now, because tonight we are hearing Pope Francis speak for the first time. His first message audibly since he was hospitalized with double pneumonia. You can hear him thanking his supporters. Listen to this.
I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your prayers for my health from the square. I accompany you from here. May God bless you and the Virgin protect you. Thank you.
That's it. That's the message in full, a short message, but obviously significant considering all of the issues that the Pope has been dealing with. You're seeing there some folks who had gathered right out front of the Vatican not too long ago, actually tonight, applauding that message. The Vatican says the Pope is still in stable condition today. No major breathing problems. Ann Thompson is joining us now from the Vatican. As we said, Ann, a short message from the Pope, but a significant one.
Mm-hmm. It was, Hallie, it was delivered in his native Spanish, and when the Cardinal presiding tonight announced that in Italian that they would play a tape from the Holy Father, you heard a smattering of applause, and then when they played the tape, most of the audience instantly recognized his voice. And when his message finished, huge applause. And as one man I spoke to who came out, Tom Smith from New Jersey, he said it was as if our prayers had been answered. It was very emotional talking to people who were in the crowd. They said to be together at that moment after praying for now 3 weeks for the recovery of Pope Francis, because tomorrow will be 3 weeks that he's been in the hospital. It was a remarkable moment here at St. Peter's Square. Hallie?
The Vatican has described the Pope's condition today. Their latest update is that he is essentially it's stable but guarded. Translating that into perhaps plain English, it sounds like he's not out of the woods yet, but doing better. Is that fair?
The good news is he hasn't gotten any worse, and that's what I would say. And he is apparently getting better. He hasn't had another occurrence of those respiratory attacks that he had on Monday. He has been undergoing respiratory and physical therapy. And in fact, the doctors feel so confident about his stability that they're not going to issue a medical update tomorrow. They say they're going to wait until Saturday because they don't anticipate much change. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to hear anything about the Pope tomorrow. The Holy See press office will give us updates. But as far as something from the doctors, and that's what we've gotten at night, we will not hear that until Saturday. Hallie?
Ann Thompson live for us there at the Vatican tonight. Ann, thank you very much. Back here at home, some breaking news now. We are just learning minutes ago that Adnan Syed, remember, whose case was made famous by the Serial podcast, he will stay out of prison. He now will be subject to 5 years of supervised release. The judge's decision comes after years of a whole bunch of different rulings and appeals. Remember, Syed was initially sentenced to life in prison plus 30 years for the murder of his former high school girlfriend. Let's bring in Danny Savalos. And Danny, what happened here? How did this decision come down, and where do things go from here for Syed?
This is actually not related to the fact that Syed was out because his conviction was almost vacated, then it was reinstated. This is actually related to Maryland's Juvenile Restoration Act, which allows people who are convicted as juveniles after they've served 20 years to petition for a reduction in sentence. And this is consistent with recent Supreme Court case law, which says that mandatory life sentences for juveniles are unconstitutional. Mandatory. In other words, a life sentence for a juvenile is possible. However, it cannot be mandatory. And this is consistent, Maryland's law, with that Supreme Court pronouncement of several years ago.
How often do you see something like this? I mean, you're a defense attorney. Is this fairly rare? I mean, it is certainly very high profile.
Well, it's a very high profile case. So much of what has happened in Syed's case is unusual and outside the norm, but actually this within this relatively new statute. And by the way, Hallie, the idea that we would bring juveniles up for reconsideration of their sentence is a relatively new concept since the Supreme Court's decision doing away with mandatory life sentences for juveniles. And it's important to think about the fact that had Syed just been a matter of months older, anyone beyond 18, no matter how close they are to 18, does not have any shot at this. So this is exceedingly rare because it only applies to juveniles.
Danny Savalos, thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. Also tonight, in just about, looking at my clock, just about an hour, SpaceX is going to launch a rocket it says could take people to the moon and maybe Mars one day. Remember, this is the launch they called off with only seconds to go earlier this week. You're going to watch it here live, right here on NBC News Now. This is the 8th test flight for the Starship after SpaceX had to scrub Monday's launch at the last minute. Initially, commentators, like SpaceX workers on the live stream, said it had to do with the booster. That was the problem. But then that was fixed. There were some other issues. Point being, Elon Musk later said on X, there were just too many question marks. If those question marks get eliminated tonight, it will certainly be an exclamation point for SpaceX and for Musk's vision of what a fully reusable Starship can accomplish, like carrying maybe dozens of people on flights to other planets like Mars, maybe to develop a moon base. Could be like a point-to-point transport to take people around the world in less than an hour here on Earth. Tom Costello is outside the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Well, Tom, you're there in person, so this launch has to happen tonight, right?
Oh, but here's the problem, Hallie Jackson. It happens in Texas, and I'm in Florida.
Oh, that's
but
right.
I am here
That's right. The Texas is the SpaceX
to
thing.
do
That's
another
right. You're there
NASA
for the,
story.
Yeah. Explain that.
Yeah, I'm
okay,
here for another
feel,
NASA story.
Just, I never know.
So
you know,
anyway, that's another NASA story. Tomorrow, NASA's going to give us a behind-the-scenes peek at the Artemis moon preps. But that's for later. It's not for today or not for tomorrow's air.
The good thing this isn't live TV. I'm going to fix that in the
watching.
post. Thank you. That's great.
Okay. Tell me how that works out. So here we are, and we're waiting for this launch, right? And as you mentioned, it is important because Starship has already gone through several test flights, and we've had an awful lot of problems. The most significant, of course, was in January when the Starship literally broke apart over the Caribbean and raining debris down on the Turks and Caicos. So the window opens at 6:30 p.m., goes till 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. As for what happened last time, we don't have a good read on that. I can tell you that, as you probably know, that massive booster contains about 1,500 tons of liquid oxygen and liquid methane. It's super chilled. So at a certain point, they just weren't comfortable with the readings they were getting from that booster rocket, and that's why they decided that they were going to shut it down. And they're going to try again today, we believe. Again, SpaceX is going to be providing the commentary starting at about 40 minutes or so before launch. And this is important because this rocket is also what NASA hopes to use to get astronauts one day to the moon and then eventually to Mars. And they're in a space race, make no doubt about it, because China wants to be on the moon with humans by the end of this decade. And NASA is right now going as fast as it can to get there ahead of China.
And all of it, some of it connects to what you're doing down there in Florida, right?
No, absolutely. So we're here because tomorrow we'll get a behind-the-scenes peek with NASA at their latest program and preps for Artemis, the moon mission, which, again, is several years down the road. But we're anxious to get an update from them. The last time I was here for an Artemis update was about 18 months ago. So this will be interesting to see what they have planned for us.
Tom Costello, just to confirm, friend, you are going to be with us in about an hour when this SpaceX launch goes off, right? You're hanging with us?
I'm not going anywhere, and you can't fix that in post. I'm right here with you.
Keep it, roll the tape. Tom Costello, we'll see you in 60 minutes. Thank you, friend. Appreciate you so much. Okay. We got a lot more to get to coming up here on the show, including some pretty dramatic video showing what South Korea calls a mistake. How the military ended up with this dangerous accident. It is a stunner. We'll have that for you after the break. Plus, new charges related to the deaths of those Kansas City Chiefs fans found frozen at a watch party. What we're learning about that year-long investigation tonight. police now charging 2 men in connection to the mysterious deaths of 3 Kansas City Chiefs fans who were found frozen in a friend's backyard. Remember, this was that dramatic story last January when 3 high school friends went to watch a game with one of their other friends and then never came home. A couple days after the game, one of the fiancés went looking for, obviously, her fiancé. That's when she found a body frozen in that backyard. Police officers later found 2 other bodies. Marquise Francis is joining us now. This was incredibly mysterious. What happened at the time, the circumstances seemed suspicious with not many updates from officials. Now, all these months later, they have essentially charged these 2 people. Explain what happened here. What have we learned?
Yeah, I mean, it's a question that the family of the victims have been asking for the last 14 months is why is this taking so long? Initial reports came out that those 3 victims actually froze to death, but the family was never buying it. From January 7th to January 9th of last year, the temperature never got below 26 degrees. So things were just never adding up. And of course, we've since found out that the 3 victims actually, or the 3 victims died because of a combined toxicity of cocaine as well as fentanyl. We also heard from the Pratt County prosecutor, and he shared a little bit more about what took so long.
It's time to bring these cases. There were additional investigative things that had to be wrapped up before this case could be brought.
I also spoke to the uncle of one of the victims, Clayton's uncle Jim, and he told me the family is just happy something is being done. Hallie?
So, Marquise, explain more about what these men are accused of here. What happened? How did these friends end up dead in the backyard?
Yeah, I mean, the 2 men being charged are Jordan Willis and Ivory Carson. Police say it was actually Willis who bought the drugs from Carson, and the bodies were actually found at Willis's house. All told, the men are charged with 3 counts of involuntary manslaughter, as you're seeing on the screen, as well as 2 counts of delivering a controlled substance. Each charge carries a maximum of 10 years in prison. And of course, this ends what seems like a forever saga for the families who have been waiting for 14 months, but finally we're getting some clarity on what took place.
Marquise Francis, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1. EU leaders in Europe are backing new military spending plans for Ukraine today. After that American pause on military help, you see President Volodymyr Zelensky there. He's sharing he's going to travel to Saudi Arabia next week for talks there with the U.S. about ending the war between Ukraine and Russia. Number 2, officials say more than a dozen people are hurt in South Korea after fighter jets accidentally dropped 8 bombs on a civilian area. You see it? It happened during a joint military exercise with U.S. troops. The Air Force there says some of the bombs misfired because a fighter jet pilot put in the wrong coordinates, but that doesn't really explain why the other bombs were dropped. They're still looking into that. Number 3, the Broadway mega hit Hamilton is canceling plans to perform here in Washington at the Kennedy Center next year because of President Trump. Remember, the president forced out the Kennedy Center's leaders and took over as chair of the Board of Trustees. Now, Hamilton's producer says, in their words, they cannot in good conscience be part of what's happening there right now. Number 4, Gwyneth Paltrow says drinking alcohol made her menopause symptoms worse. She says she started drinking every night after those LA wildfires and noticed that her symptoms were, she put it, out of control. Some studies do show that a lot of alcohol can trigger hot flashes and some other symptoms. Paltrow, who of course has become a wellness influencer now, says she drinks about once a week these days. Number 5, Steve Carell teaming up with a nonprofit in LA to surprise kids who were affected by those LA wildfires. He's sending them to prom. Here he is announcing it at one high school, and you can see him reacting. They are so psyched. Big round of applause. He says he's paying for all of their prom tickets, which can go for about $100. Good for him. Something nice. Nice to see something nice. Up next, some dramatic video out of California. How rescuers saved 2 hikers after they fell off an 800-foot cliff. Plus, one of the biggest names in the Democratic Party out with a surprising stance in a controversial culture war fight. What Gavin Newsom's now saying about trans athletes in women's sports and the 2028 of it all. The FBI tonight joining in the investigation of the gruesome murder and dismemberment of a teenage girl in Arizona, with her community set to hold a candlelight vigil later on tonight. 14-year-old who is a member of the San Carlos Apache tribe, Emily Pike, was last seen January 27th, leaving a group home for young women in Mesa where she'd been staying. She was found dead on Valentine's Day in a remote area off an interstate, like 100 miles from where she was last seen. She was not publicly identified until a memo leaked from the county sheriff's office online. Steve Patterson is joining us now. And Steve, the details here are horrific with this teenage girl. Parts of her body are still missing. You've got a family and a community in shock tonight.
You do. Hallie, you said it. She went missing late January, mid-February. 3 weeks later, they find a head and a torso, not arms and hands, which to many authorities seems to indicate there is DNA there, which indicates there may have been this final tragic, violent struggle. The latest, you also said, the federal agencies are involved, FBI, the Bureau of Indian Affairs. I've called the local sheriff's department there. I've called the local tribal police there to try to figure out how these federal agencies are involved and why. I'm waiting on callbacks. Until then, we're relying on a lot of reporting that's been done by our local affiliate, speaking to the community, saying that this was a bright, effervescent, funny, quirky young girl, but that she may have had some mental struggles, which led her to this group home in Mesa off the reservation. That group home, by the way, reporting at least 30 missing persons reports over the last few years, although some of those we know are repeats, including repeats for Emily, who had at least 5 times where she had been reported running away from that group home. Lastly, we know that Emily's mother had spoken to the local CBS affiliate there, saying, of course, repeating that she was bright, she was effervescent, wanted to go to college, but also saying that she had donated some of her DNA to authorities, which likely led to the body match, and that there were at least 3 suspects that police told her that they're looking at currently. Hallie?
This appears to be part of what experts have called a very troubling trend. Some say an epidemic, because Native American women and girls go missing at a much higher rate than other populations. There's an acronym for it, MMIW. It means Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. This is a horrific and devastating piece to a broader issue.
You call it troubling, I call it maddening. You're right, there is an acronym, there's a moniker, it's often called the silent crisis, because we don't talk about it enough. 4 out of every 5th Indigenous woman reports that there is some sort of violence toward them. That's more than 80%. More than 50% say that violence is sexual assault. Indigenous women are 10 times more likely to be murdered or sexually assaulted. In 2023, there was something like 5,800 outstanding missing persons cases involving Indigenous women. And we know the resources are low because of the bodies that come back of missing women, 135% are less likely to be found Indigenous. So the numbers are staggering. It's maddening. It's awful. I'm glad that you're giving a platform to talk about it. So kudos to you and your producers there. But another tragic case to sort of highlight the level of violence that is metastasizing in this country. Hallie.
Well, we thank you for your reporting on it, and we know that you will stay on it too, Steve. So Steve Patterson, appreciate you bringing us the latest details as the FBI is now involved as well. Thanks. NBC News covers hundreds of stories every day, and because it can be tough to read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. Out of our Midwest Bureau, one of the defendants in the Slender Man case asking to be released from a Wisconsin mental hospital today. Back in 2014, Morgan Geyser lured a classmate into the woods and repeatedly stabbed her to please the fictional character. Remember, Slender Man doesn't exist. The classmate barely survived. Geyser was granted a release in January, but staff from the hospital filed a petition to stop it, saying she was not ready to be released from that psychiatric care facility. Out of our Western Bureau, New Mexico health officials say a person there tested positive for measles after they died. It was an adult who was apparently unvaccinated, did not seek medical attention. We've been telling you about the measles outbreak in nearby Texas, where nearly 160 people are sick. Just last week, an unvaccinated child there died from the virus, which was the country's first measles death in about a decade. Also out of our Western Bureau, new video shows crews in California rescuing 2 hikers after they fell off an 800-foot cliff. It took multiple days to get to them and to get them up because the wind was so strong. The hikers were taken to the hospital, and incredibly, after that unbelievable ordeal, they're doing okay. Also tonight, one of the biggest names in the Democratic Party is making a surprising break with the rest of Dems tonight on one of the country's most hot-button issues. California Governor Gavin Newsom criticizing transgender athletes who participate in women's sports during the debut episode of his new podcast. Listen to this.
I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. I revere sports, and so the issue of fairness is completely legit. And I saw that the last couple of years. Boy, did I saw how you guys were able to weaponize that issue.
Newsom there talking about all this. And why is it such a big deal? A couple reasons. Not many elected Democrats have taken that position. Also, governor is seen as a pretty likely candidate for president come 2028. Keep in mind, there are a lot of Americans who agree with Newsom on this. According to multiple recent polls, more than half the country think that trans women athletes should not be competing in women's sports. And the issue of transgender rights overall became a real talker in the 2024 campaign, remember, after the Trump camp spent millions of dollars on the ad with the tagline, Harris is for they, them, Donald Trump is for you. Harris coming under fire from some corners for how she handled the issue during her campaign.
Would you still advocate for using taxpayer dollars for gender reassignment surgeries?
I will follow the law, just as I think Donald Trump would say he did.
They're trying to define you on this.
Yes,
I'm asking you to define yourself, though. Just broadly speaking, what is your value? Do you believe they should have that access?
I believe that people, as the law states, even on this issue about federal law, that is a decision that doctors will make in terms of what is medically necessary.
NBC's David Noriega is following this for us from Governor Newsom's home state of California. So apologies to in advance for the jump scare on bringing up 2028. And I'm sure there are people who rolled their eyes at the mention of a presidential election more than 3 years away. But you have to look at the way that Newsom and some others, and Newsom in particular on this, is positioning himself. And it speaks to this way that Democrats seem to be trying to find their footing on this issue.
Yeah, Hallie, it's never not election season. And when it comes to not just trans rights generally, but the specific issue of trans participation in women's sports, particularly youth sports, it is, arguably the most intense front in the culture war. And it is a front on which Democrats broadly feel that they're losing, given that public opinion stands where you pointed out that it stands. Now, as far as the political cost of this for Democrats, a lot of the narrative around that has coalesced around that ad that you mentioned that ran specifically during football games during much of election season last year. That ad actually came up in this conversation that Newsom had with Charlie Kirk on this debut episode of his podcast. Take a listen to a little bit of how they talked about that ad.
The most effective ad of this election cycle, the most effective ad, what it is?
Yeah, and devastating. Trump's for you, she's for they, them. And devastating.
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 But let's talk about,
she didn't even react to it, which was even more
and let's talk about why.
So, of course, given Newsom's stature within the party, not just within the Democratic Party, but in national politics generally, this is a pretty remarkable substantive shift in position on a very important issue. Now, of course, one of the reasons that this is bound to create tension within the Democratic constituency is that a lot of members of that constituency, not least a lot of trans people and their allies, say that this shouldn't be a question of public opinion or political popularity, that it should be a matter of moral principle that the Democrats should not be wavering on so easily, especially not someone as high profile as Newsom, Hallie.
He's also being very intentional. People are wondering who he was sitting with there. If people would know Charlie Kirk, right? This controversial right-wing influencer there. First guest on the podcast, which, again, seems like an intentional choice. What's up with that?
Definitely. I mean, look, there are a number of high-profile Democrats that like to have these sort of sparring TV appearances against conservatives, right? Pete Buttigieg often went on Fox News during election season and kind of tangled with anchors and other guests. Newsom himself had this, famous debate with Ron DeSantis.
That's right.
This interview, this conversation, Hallie, was not really that. It was less of a debate and more of a sort of chummy podcast conversation in which even the clips that Newsom shared on social media of the conversation weren't really him challenging Kirk. It actually was a lot of him agreeing with or even praising Kirk. And that's, I think, what has people a little bit sort of taken aback by this, especially people on the left. But, it's reminiscent, actually, of another one of the big narratives that emerged from the campaign last year, which was Kamala Harris's failure to get on the Joe Rogan podcast. And this debate about how Democrats should reach certain constituencies, particularly young men, that they are pretty clearly losing. But, of course, that debate is not just about sort of like the communications tactics. It's about the substance of these positions. I should say, Hallie, that it isn't clear yet whether this is a bellwether in terms of Democrats more largely shifting on this issue, because just this week, Democrats in the Senate unanimously voted against a Republican bill that would ban transgender participation in women's sports.
David Noriega live for us there in L.A. David, lots to follow. As you say, it is never not election season. Don't shoot the messenger. Thank you. Appreciate it. Coming up, the battle over religion in public schools, where Bibles will soon be made available in classrooms all over the state as our reporter goes one-on-one with the education leader in Oklahoma. To tonight's original now with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching. And tonight we're taking you to Oklahoma, where the state's top education official is sending Bibles to AP government classrooms. Online posting they will soon be available. And not just any Bibles, the ones President Trump's promoting. But state lawmakers are blocking funding to buy more this week, so the superintendent is turning to donations. In some rural corners of this very red state, there's skepticism and concern. So we sent our Antonia Hilton to Oklahoma for a one-on-one with the state's superintendent of schools.
In the small town of Preston, Oklahoma, students are welcomed off the bus and into breakfast by educators who have often known their families for decades or were once students here themselves. A tight-knit pre-K through 12 with more churches than school buildings nearby, typically a world away from tensions at a state capitol, but in an era in which everything about education has been politicized. Superintendent Mark Hudson says even Preston is in the fray.
Is the rhetoric impacting educators?
Sure it is. I mean, educators already are leaving in droves. When people say things like that right there, teachers are indoctrinating kids, teachers are raising terrorists. Who would want to be a teacher?
For months, many educators have been on edge. Last year, Oklahoma's superintendent of schools, Ryan Walters, announced that the Bible must be in all of Oklahoma's classrooms. His team purchased copies of this God Bless the USA Bible, a version marketed by President Trump.
I'm proud to endorse and encourage you to get this Bible.
They're listed online for $60 each. The state couldn't confirm how much they paid when we asked. After the New Year's Day terrorist attack in New Orleans, he shared this video, suggesting teachers' unions bore some responsibility for homegrown terrorism.
You know, you have schools that are teaching kids to hate their country.
Then he asked state lawmakers for $3 million in taxpayer funds to purchase Bibles for every school. This week, they denied that request, but Walter says he's shipping out hundreds of copies already purchased to schools. And today, he's putting out a call for donations, partnering with the person who produced the God Bless the USA Bible. Preston's leaders are quietly refusing.
Sometimes we kind of feel like we're on a raft by ourselves.
Scott McCullough already wears many hats. High school principal, history teacher, coach, bus driver, a local Southern Baptist preacher. But bringing the Bible into a public school classroom seems to him a step too far.
We might make some references to the Bible, but we're not going to pull it out and bash him over the head with it either.
This morning, he's teaching his sophomores about the Trail of Tears, the forced relocation of Native American tribes in Oklahoma.
The teachers don't really step around intimate subjects because that's not what real life is going to be like. The world's not always going to be there to kind of hold your hand.
We went from the classroom to the Capitol to meet with State Superintendent Ryan Walters.
The Bible has been taken out of the classroom by left-wing extremists that want to take our history away from our kids and lie to young people about what happened throughout our history.
You recorded a video. You talk about left-wing radicals, and you also did a prayer for President Trump.
I pray in particular for President Donald Trump.
Is this really about left-wing activism, or is it about pushing your own political views?
Left-wing activism has been pushed in the classroom. And we absolutely are going to protect teachers' right to pray. We are going to bring prayer back to school.
I asked again if he's pushing a Republican agenda.
We are not pushing an agenda. We're pushing an understanding of history. I prayed for an incoming president. I have the right to pray. Just as I prescribed in the video, it is up to you whether you want to pray or not. It is up
But
to
it
you
wasn't
whether-
up to the districts to play the video or to choose to not send it to parents.
That's correct. And in the video,
But that doesn't sound like religious liberty.
Oh, absolutely it does. I guess you didn't watch the whole video, because in the video
I
I say,
did.
okay, well, so what about the part where I say you don't have to pray? What about the part
But
where I
you
say
do
don't
have
engage
to
with them?
show me praying.
You have to show a message from the superintendent over all the schools in the state.
And if they don't comply with these directives, what happens to them?
If they decide to break the law, if they decide to indoctrinate kids by not teaching them American history, they can be removed from the classroom. Their schools can face accreditation issues by not obeying the law.
The law around religion in public schools, long thought settled, may soon change in Walters' favor. A series of Supreme Court rulings in the 1960s prohibited state-sponsored religious practices, including mandatory Bible readings and school-sponsored prayer. But with recent rulings and a key case in front of the highest court now, many conservatives hope all that will be reversed.
Traditionalists are going to have some
Back
division.
in Principal McCullough's classroom, we asked students what they believe about the separation of church and state.
As a Christian, the Bible would be nice, but just for everyone else, I don't know if that would be good.
Not all parents want their children exposed to certain religions just because they may have a different religion or no religion at all.
Do you think the Bible should be in the classroom?
Yeah, because I feel like people need it. It might get a good impact on their life. The Word of God is always good.
After a long day of teaching and administrative duties, Principal McCullough drives his own students home.
Are we hugging?
He knows these families. Many share his deep faith and his values.
See you, hon.
What does this school community mean to you?
I'm getting emotional because I'm thinking back to the teachers that taught me. They instilled in me the ability to believe in myself, that I could be whatever I wanted to be. This is where I want to be. Person in each and every situation.
He hopes they understand that if they want to hear him preach the word of God, they're always welcome in his pews.
Antonia Hilton is joining us now. Antonia, one of the things you talked about in that piece was the Supreme Court cases. Where does the legal piece of this stand right now?
Well, Hallie, there is the local and the sort of national piece to this battle. So on the local level, Superintendent Ryan Walters is facing pushback from state lawmakers, from the Republican governor of Oklahoma. But look, you really have to look at the long game here, because Oklahoma is also at the center of a key case coming in front of the Supreme Court. And that centers around a Catholic public charter school, a first-of-its-kind school receiving public money, public sponsorship from the state. Now, civil liberties groups have been pretty successful in arguing that this Catholic school is violating the separation of church and state, and they call it unconstitutional. But if it goes in front of this conservative-leaning Supreme Court and that gets overturned, that's going to change the game, not just in Oklahoma, but all around the country. And Ryan Walters has for years now seen himself as ahead of the curve and as really at the front of this movement, Hallie.
Antonia Hilton, thank you so much for that reporting. Much more to watch, as you allude to, here in the months ahead. Appreciate it. Still ahead for us here in the show, a big new first for Major League Baseball, how the league's trying to take human error out of the game by taking humans out of some positions. That's next. So Major League Baseball is testing out a new way to try to take human error out of the game with this spring training for the first time ever. Players getting the ability to challenge balls and strikes. That totally upends the role of umpires in this nearly 2-century-old sport. But if it all goes smoothly, we could see this new technology in big league parks by next season. How does it work? Jesse Kirsch has the breakdown.
Love it.
He got him looking.
Or hate it.
Called strike three, and Schwarber is...
When a baseball umpire calls strike three, no amount of shouting will change the outcome. But that might be about to change.
And we're going to have a challenge here from the catcher.
Right now, Major League Baseball is using spring training to test an automated ball strike system, or ABS, which lets players challenge an umpire's pitch call. Here's how it works. Only the pitcher, catcher, or batter can challenge by tapping their head right after the umpire's call. Then within seconds, using a series of cameras around the field, the program shows the fans at the ballpark or watching on TV where the pitch crossed the plate in relation to the strike zone. The experimental system is being used in about 60% of this year's spring training games and is already seeing plenty of action.
And that is just fractionally a ball.
Including this successful challenge by the New York Yankees that turned an inning-ending strikeout into a 3-run rally.
It's been a good little process so far.
We caught up with the Bronx Bombers at their spring training home in Tampa, Florida, to get their perspective on the new system.
I think it's good for baseball. I don't know if I'm really that much in favor of it. I like that human element part of it.
Fans are also divided.
It's how it's been for the last 100+ years. That's how it should stay.
Can definitely see the advantage of it.
If nothing else, ABS is already providing some entertainment, like when this umpire announced that his call had been confirmed.
Call is surprisingly correct. 3.
Some call ABS a robo-umpire, and if MLB ever completely eliminated that human element, we'd lose the sarcasm and the drama of those nose-to-nose shouting matches. Yankees manager Aaron Boone is no stranger to being tossed from a game.
If you completely got rid of the umpires, who would you yell at?
I'd yell at somebody.
We did not meet anyone who totally wants the umpires out of here.
Hell no. No shot. Getting rid of umpires is crazy.
As long as they keep the umpires there, I got no problem.
The league tested ABS extensively in the minor leagues last year and says in AAA, just over half of challenged calls were overturned. Baseball has recently seen a number of major changes, like a pitch clock, larger bases, and defensive realignments, all of it part of an effort to modernize the game. But the question remains, is this system ready for prime time?
Major League Baseball says it's going to ask for player feedback and says we could see ABS used in the regular season as early as next year. Hallie?
Jesse Kirsch, thank you very much for that. That does it for us for this hour. I'll see you right back here on Sunday on Nightly News and right back here Monday on NBC News Now. More coverage picks up right now. We are coming on the air with the whiplash and the walk back in Washington as President Trump does a 180, mostly, on his tariffs for now. And if you're confused, the markets are too. What it all means for the price you pay for the stuff you need. Also tonight, big questions if you have student loans, as the president plans to basically gut the education department. The new message now from the person he just put in charge to run it. Then the feds are getting involved into the investigation into the horrific murder of a 14-year-old Native American teenager in Arizona. How a grieving community is demanding more action tonight. Plus, new this hour, why a former Olympic snowboarder is now on the FBI's most wanted list for allegedly running an international drug ring. We've got details on that. Plus, we'll bring you live that big SpaceX launch as Elon Musk's company hopes to get one step closer to a fully reusable Starship and to Mars. That's coming up a little bit later in the show. Hey, I'm Hallie, and we are starting tonight with that whiplash, with that confusion coming out of the White House, with President Trump backing down on the tariffs he was holding strong on less than 48 hours ago, pressing pause on some tariffs to Canada and Mexico. That's after his initial announcement on the tariffs that wiped out that so-called Trump bump in the markets and threatened to raise the price of hundreds of products for you. Okay, so what is exempt now? What is not going to be affected by this pause in tariffs now? Basically, just about everything that's part of that big trade deal he made in his first term. A White House official says that includes about half the imports from Mexico, more than a third from Canada, stuff like cars, produce, key fertilizer components. Farmers are going to like that one. Still, you see the Dow, the S&P, the NASDAQ, all in the red tonight at close just in the last couple of hours. The president, who often points to the markets when they're going well, says this time around, he's not really paying attention.
I'm not even looking at the market because long term, the United States will be very strong with what's happening here. I think it's globalists that see how rich our country is going to be and they don't like it.
All of it after some speculation here in Washington that the president may be getting ready to sign an executive order to dismantle the Department of Education, something that he said he would do on the campaign trail. He can't totally get rid of it, but he can gut it. We're going to get more into that in just a second as Kelly O'Donnell gets into all of it. But I want to start with Brian Chung on what the tariff news means for your money. Brian, we're about to put on the screen a calendar from just this week that kind of walks through the timeline here, right? Tuesday, he puts the tariffs in place. Wednesday, he gives an exemption for the auto industry. Today, he presses pause on a whole bunch of the stuff from Canada and Mexico. So April 2nd is the next deadline. Does this mean we're just doing all this whiplash and confusion again in 3.5 weeks from now?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what that means. And by the way, the status of where we are with tariffs now is arguably even more confusing if you're a small business than it was even prior to, the announcement of the exemptions being expanded today. So again, what we were talking about on Tuesday was that 25% tariff on Mexico and Canada. Any sort of imports that come in basically would be subject to that tariff. It seemed pretty simple. But now what we're hearing from the White House and what was actually just signed by an executive action, as you can see on the screen ahead of you this afternoon, was an exemption that basically says anything that is compliant with a trade agreement that was brokered between Canada, Mexico, and the United States in 2020, or rather that took effect in 2020, will not be applied that 25% tariff. Things like automotive products. So yes, in the past, when I say in the past, I mean as of Tuesday, any sort of auto parts that were coming in from Mexico, for example, would have faced that 25% tariff. Now that is largely going to be exempt because of the expansion of the exemptions that was signed into action today. So now, we have the question of, okay, that stay, though, is only relevant for the next 4 weeks. So April 2nd, we're going to have this conversation all over again. And I think that's the reason why you see Wall Street not reacting that positively to this, because these tariffs are not off the table. They're just off the table for about 4 weeks.
Okay, we know the president's been promising the retaliatory tariffs, right? You tariff us, we'll tariff you, essentially. But there's some form of retaliation that tariffs cannot help with. So, for example, the maker of Jack Daniels says Canadian shops are being told, essentially directed, to remove U.S. liquor off the shelves, actually worse than tariffs. It's not a deal breaker for them, right? As you see here in that quote from CNBC, it's only like 1% of their business in Canada. But it does maybe speak to like an animosity that seems like, at least anecdotally, has been building.
Yeah, and we heard the tone of that animosity from Justin Trudeau in his remarks when he was trying to talk directly to Americans, called the tariff moves from President Donald Trump, describing them as dumb. I do think that we have to remember that this is not just our neighbors to the north and south that we're talking about here. People forget that we also are talking about China as part of this. China did face 10% tariffs in the first round of negotiations in February, and now there's an additional 10% that was added as part of the tariffs announced today. No exemptions for China on that front, which means that the types of electronics that we bring in from China, those are now subject to those higher tariffs, which, by the way, the president has promised on the campaign trail he would ratchet as high as something like 60%. So that story is not over. And the tit for tat is such an important element of this, because what did China do after the latest round of 10% tariffs this week? They announced counteracting tariffs that will take effect actually on Monday. There will also be some sort of export restrictions from the United States to China of things like soybeans. Soybean farmers are majorly dialed into that because it's a major export to China. These are all things that we'll be watching in the months to come.
You're going to be busy. Brian Chung, eat your Wheaties. Thank you, friend. Appreciate that. Kelly O'Donnell eats her Wheaties every single morning. She's joining us now from outside the White House. So, Kelly, we're still looking ahead, right, to April 2nd. That's kind of the next big date we're circling on our calendars here when these so-called retaliatory tariffs go into effect. What has happened internally over the course of the last 48 hours, from the president's joint address where he stood firm on these tariffs to now? I mean, is it an indication that there is no plan that is set in stone?
It almost gives me a sense that the president also finds a beautiful word to be exemption, because he talks about tariffs and he clearly has a long-standing view that they are an effective tool, and believes that even more than many Republicans in Congress or certainly corporate America, et cetera, et cetera. And now he's embracing the power of exemption, a chance to wield the weight of his office by having conversations with leaders from other nations, big corporate leaders like the big three automakers, and to be able to engage in direct dialogue where he either extracts something from them, promises about how they're going to do this or that, or is able to give something, all a part of the ledger he keeps on transactional governmental things, which is really a hallmark of his style. So he is now embracing these exemptions. And we haven't really gotten to the point yet of understanding what his sense of the chaos factor is with this. He knows that sometimes tariffs can be wielded to extract something, and that might give you a short-term benefit. But the back and forth we've been seeing, and dates changing and amounts changing, and goods that are covered by this pact but not that pact. The many variables here where we need a flow chart to try to follow it, or we need Brian on a short leash to tell us, is because, right? I mean, Brian is a busy guy these days trying to help us understand this, because the chaos piece is hard to know. Businesses tend to like an ability to plan, and so do farmers. And so that will be a real question going forward of what is the impact for the planning that is typically required, in addition to all the relationship aspects of this, that it is both friendly nations and adversarial ones that are affected.
So when we talk about things that may not be set in stone, or things that get exempted or push pause on or whatever, let's talk about that TikTok ban with its new deadline now for the app to either spin off from its Chinese-based owner or to basically shut down in the U.S. just about a month away now. Sounds like the president is still says there's a question around the buyer here, right? He took a question on this earlier today in the Oval Office. Let me play it.
Look, we have a lot of interest in TikTok, and China is going to play a role. And so hopefully China will approve of the deal.
And yes, just for viewers keeping score, that is the same China that is obviously the subject of these tariffs from the president here. Where do things stand on the whole TikTok situation?
Well, one of the things that the president didn't really articulate in that clip, but has often done so, is that he believes that that platform, which has a great audience among especially young Americans, was pivotal in his reelection. He speaks of that when he talks about TikTok. He uses, or his administration social media team uses that as a way to connect. And he believes that it is the kind of direct pathway to American hearts and minds of younger voters that he likes to have a relationship there. So he has talked about that. He's also always the hype man. So when he talks about lots of interest in TikTok, he wants to keep interest in TikTok to get a viable buyer and a way to keep this going forward. Because clearly Congress has enacted laws saying that it must be disengaged because of the threat of China being able to access Americans' data and all the kinds of things that fall from that, which could be used against us in an adversarial way by the company that owns ByteDance, the company that owns TikTok. So the president would like to see it resolved. It is not yet resolved, and the pressure on this issue will continue.
Kelly O'Donnell live for us there outside the White House tonight. No shortage of things for you to cover, Kelly, as you are also on that short leash. Thank you very much. Yes. Appreciate it. One of the things we've also talked about that has really come to the fore today is this idea that the president, as he said on the campaign trail he would do, wants to essentially dismantle the Department of Education. And now he's starting to answer the question on the minds of millions of Americans with student loans. What happens if he actually does it, right, and gets rid of the Department of Education? The president today saying that the loans would be handled by a department that has not been gutted. Listen.
That would be brought into either Treasury or Small Business Administration or Commerce. And we've actually had that discussion today. I don't think the education should be handling the loans. That's not their business.
President Trump is widely expected to, at some point, issue an executive order to his new Secretary of Education to basically get rid of the department she's in charge of. Secretary McMahon calling on her DOE, Linda McMahon, you saw her there, calling on her DOE colleagues to join her in what she calls an historic final mission for the department. NBC's Ryan Nobles is following this one for us. President Trump wants to get rid of the Education Department. He made that very clear in his 2024 campaign. He cannot actually technically do it without the help of Congress, right? Is there an appetite for a move like that?
I think there are certainly Republicans that are open to the idea of restructuring the way the Department of Education functions, perhaps reducing the size of its overall bureaucracy. But there are a fair number of Republicans and Democrats, for that matter, that are very nervous about the idea of just completely eliminating the Department of Education, particularly eliminating the Department of Education without at least some input from Congress. This was an agency that was established by Congress under statute and under law. So Congress needs to be involved in whatever plans there are to dismantle it. And we heard that even from some Republicans today. Listen to what they had to say.
Do you support the idea of getting rid of the Department of Education?
No, I think that the Department of Education actually has some functions that we think are important.
I believe it could be downsized and that it has grown too bureaucratic and too big. The decision on whether to abolish the department is one that only Congress can make.
And part of the reason that Congress wants to be involved in this conversation, Hallie, is because you could say someone kind of broadly, let's just get rid of the bureaucracy tied to the Department of Education. They might think that's a good idea. But then when you actually deal with the reality of that, you've given one illustration already, the administration of loans, student loans for college students. But there is a whole long other list of things that the Department of Education does. They offer up a lot of support for children with disabilities to make sure that they get the full education that they deserve. They administer the free and reduced lunch program across the country. How are you going to administer all of these things by just spreading them out to other agencies? That sounds good in practice, but the reason the Department of Education was established was to streamline that effort. It could be more work to break them apart. So Congress open to the idea of making government more efficient, but just a wholesale closure of the Department of Ed as rapidly as what the president may be proposing, and it's important to keep in mind that we haven't seen this executive order yet, may be a bridge too far for some of them.
Ryan Noble is live for us on Capitol Hill. Ryan, thank you very much. Also tonight, the FBI has now added a former Olympian to its 10 most wanted list for allegedly running an international drug ring. We're talking about Ryan Wedding, who competed as a Canadian snowboarder in the 2002 Olympics. Since then, the FBI alleges that he has trafficked cocaine to the U.S., ordered the murders of his rivals, and a bunch of other very serious crimes. They're offering a $10 million reward for information leading to his capture. I want to bring in Morgan Chesky, who has been tracking this for us. The arc from, Olympic snowboarder to top 10 most wanted is dramatic, to say the least. And here's how the FBI put it: from shredding powder on the slopes to distributing powder cocaine. What is going on?
Yeah, Hallie, a stunning turn here, even with the decades since the Salt Lake City Olympics where Wedding competed. We only wonder kind of what led him down this path. These charges that we're going to be digging into here really hone in on the last 2 years of where Wedding has been. Following this kind of turn, allegedly, towards a life of crime. And contained within these federal charges, Hallie, are about 8 felonies, as you mentioned, tying him to multiple murders, tying him to a transnational drug ring that involved trafficking cocaine over multiple borders here, and working in conjunction with allegedly the Sinaloa cartel, one of the largest cartels in Mexico. I want you to hear kind of how federal investigators broke it down in a press conference earlier today when they announced that reward jumping dramatically from, I think, $50,000 to now $10 million, all to hopefully track down this one man. Take a listen.
This operation has shipped drugs from Colombia through Mexico and into the United States and Canada. Wedding, who is wealthy, is dangerous and has connections in very high places.
Now, these charges, Hallie, come as part of a larger investigation. We know that there are 16 indictments. Wedding is just one of those indictments. All of this tie back to that transnational drug ring. We do know that a alleged colleague or a partner of Wedding was removed from Mexico, brought to the United States just last week, where he had his first federal court appearance. His name, I want to make sure I get it right, is Andrew Clark, Hallie. And authorities say that Clark, from May to October 24, worked with Wedding to traffic about 2 tons of cocaine over the border. And that was just within 6 months of last year. Hallie?
Do they have any idea where Wedding is now? Like, do they have any leads?
So as you heard the investigators say right there, they do believe he has friends in high places, those friends being the Sinaloa cartel. As far as they can say right now, Hallie, they believe that he's essentially hiding, using their protection somewhere in Mexico, potentially in South America. We do know that the tentacles of the cartel are vast and wide-stretching, but his name, his face, now on the FBI top 10 most wanted fugitives. Hallie, this is a list that had serial killer Ted Bundy on it. It had Osama bin Laden on it, and now it has Ryan James Wedding, kind of just underscoring the fact that just mere decades ago he was, representing his country at the highest level possible, and now he's being chased by one of the largest law enforcement entities on the planet. Hallie?
Morgan Chesky, thank you very much. We'll stay on top of this one. Appreciate it. We are also watching a developing story out of South Korea. 2 fighter jets accidentally dropping multiple bombs in a civilian area during a training mission with the U.S. military. More than a dozen people ended up hurt. Here's NBC News international correspondent Janice Mackey-Frere.
A mistake that came dangerously close to being deadly from the South Korean military overnight, as seen in stunning video showing the moment of impact of one of the bombs. It happened during training for joint exercises with the U.S. military involving live fire drills. 8 bombs were accidentally dropped from South Korean fighter jets on a civilian village about 20 miles from the North Korean border. Now, they were supposed to hit a training range, but left 15 people with injuries. 2 of them are said to be in serious condition. South Korean officials said that one of the pilots put in the wrong coordinates, but what isn't clear is why a second pilot then dropped bombs as well. South Korea's military said it was suspending all live fire drills while an investigation is carried out. But they also assured that the joint exercises with the U.S., known as Freedom Shield, would kick off next week as planned. The U.S. aircraft carrier USS Carl Vinson has arrived on the Korean Peninsula as part of this annual show of force that often triggers threats and provocations from North Korea, which has already warned of its own military actions. There's been no immediate comment yet from the U.S. military on the accident, beyond saying that U.S. aircraft were not involved.
Our thanks to Janice Mackey for that. Also tonight, tens of millions of people from the Great Lakes to the Mid-Atlantic are still dealing with incredibly windy conditions, with gusts so strong they're knocking over trees, taking down power lines all over one Virginia street. It is a mess there and far beyond as well. And with that very windy condition comes a bigger risk for fires down south, with some of those fires still going in the Carolinas and in Texas. Now, states as far south as Florida are at risk of red flag warnings. I want to bring in now Bill Cairns, who's got more on this. What's the expectation, and when is there some relief?
Yeah, Hallie, March and April are by far the windiest months in the lower 48. You know, it's kind of the turning point when we go from winter and then the warm air tries returning. We tend to get big storms, and everything's still dead. So all the fuel is there for these brush fires. And we got a big one that's just formed. So this is Port Charlotte. This is Punta Gorda. So Fort Myers is just south of here. And this is where the fire is. It's not that big yet. It's about 13 acres, but it's burning right next to homes. There's evacuations in place here. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go throughout the rest of the afternoon. I'm sure they're going to be doing water drops. Winds are about 20 to 30 miles per hour. We have a new big storm that's circulating here over Utah. It is going to bring some beneficial rain tonight to L.A. and San Diego. That's fantastic. We need it. But we have high wind warnings in effect for New Mexico. This area did not get the rain with that last storm that moved across the country. So that's why we're very concerned. El Paso, gust to 30, Albuquerque 29. Earlier, you were gusting around 40. I know around Santa Fe is up to 50. So the rest of today, these red flag warnings for West Texas, New Mexico, into North Texas. And then tomorrow, we continue that. And in the Northeast, we have wind advisories that are up for the big storm that's finally leaving. It's actually going to get windy at night, which is a little unusual, Hallie. A lot of people will hear it, and you'll sense it, and you'll probably hear the house or the roof shaking a little bit. So we'll continue to monitor all that tonight in the east. Tomorrow looks a lot quieter.
Bill Cairns, thank you very much for all of that. Appreciate it. Overseas tonight, we are hearing Pope Francis speak for the very first time since he was hospitalized with double pneumonia, thanking his supporters for their prayers. I want you to listen to the full statement here.
I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your prayers for my health from the square. I accompany you from here. May God bless you and the Virgin protect you. Thank you.
The Pope there, remember, 88 years old, and here you see people applauding as the message played out in St. Peter's Square not too long ago. Now, the Vatican says the Pope is still in stable condition today, no big respiratory episodes. Ann Thompson is joining us now. As we said, Ann, a short message from the Pope, but a significant one.
It was, Hallie. It was delivered in his native Spanish, and when the cardinal presiding tonight announced that in Italian that they would play a tape from the Holy Father, you heard a smattering of applause, and then when they played the tape, most of the audience instantly recognized his voice. And when his message finished, huge applause. And as one man I spoke to who came out, Tom Smith from New Jersey, he said it was as if our prayers had been answered. It was very emotional talking to people who were in the crowd. They said to be together at that moment after praying for now 3 weeks for the recovery of Pope Francis, because tomorrow will be 3 weeks that he's been in the hospital. It was a remarkable moment here at St. Peter's Square. Hallie?
The Vatican has described the Pope's condition today. Their latest update is that he is essentially it's stable but guarded. Translating that into perhaps plain English, it sounds like he's not out of the woods yet, but doing better. Is that fair?
The good news is he hasn't gotten any worse, and that's what I would say. And he is apparently getting better. He hasn't had another occurrence of those respiratory attacks that he had on Monday. He has been undergoing respiratory and physical therapy. And in fact, the doctors feel so confident about his stability that they're not going to issue a medical update tomorrow. They say they're going to wait until Saturday because they don't anticipate much change. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to hear anything about the Pope tomorrow. The Holy See press office will give us updates. But as far as something from the doctors, and that's what we've gotten at night, we will not hear that until Saturday. Hallie?
Ann Thompson live for us there at the Vatican tonight. Ann, thank you very much. Coming up here in the show, we are now T-minus just about 7 minutes to that SpaceX launch with a rocket that could one day bring humans back to the moon and eventually to Mars. Those are the SpaceX workers walking you through it. But we got our team ready to bring this to you live in just a minute. That's next right here on NBC News Now. Don't go anywhere. We are less than 4 minutes away now. You see it right there, T-minus 3 minutes to SpaceX launching a rocket it says could take people to the moon and maybe Mars one day. Remember, they called off this launch 2 days ago with only seconds to go. Take you to the live stream here from South Texas. You see it as they are now within 3 minutes of the Starship's 8th test flight. Now, here's the thing. I guess it was Monday this launch happened, or they tried to. They had to scrub it right at the last minute. If you were watching with us live, you remember that at T-minus 40 seconds, they ran into some issues. I want to bring in our team who's going to be with us as we bring you through this launch live. Again, a big moment for SpaceX and for the space race. Dr. Emily Rice is an astrophysics professor at City University of New York. Leroy Chow is a former NASA astronaut and International Space Station commander. And, of course, Tom Costello, who's covering this from Florida down at the Kennedy Space Center. So let me pull up the full screen. I want to ask our control room to pull this up wide. Okay, T-minus 2 minutes, Tom. Talk us through it, and we're going to listen in when we hit about 45 seconds out.
Yeah, they've loaded up 1,500 pounds of liquid oxygen and liquid methane, the propellants for this monster rocket, the biggest on Earth, 400 feet tall. This is a test mission. It is uncrewed. Nobody's on board. The whole point here is to yet again demonstrate the feasibility of the biggest rocket ever built to eventually carry humans, hopefully, to the moon and to Mars. So what's going to be critical today is going to be the launch, of course, a successful launch. And then once they get up into space, the booster would come back down, back to the pad for the third time and be grabbed by that chopstick maneuver that we've already seen them use on multiple occasions. And then after that, the question is going to be Starship as it continues to fly, eventually landing in, splashing down in the Indian Ocean. If all goes well, that's the timeline. But as you know, back in January, Starship actually broke up over the Caribbean, raining debris down over the Turks and Caicos. They say that they have made all the necessary fixes so that that won't happen again. I need to point out, as on Monday, we will have a hold built in, a potential hold built in at T-minus 40 seconds
so let's listen
for them to
now.
do a last-minute check.
It's about 10 seconds away, so let's listen to see how that last check goes and if this is a go. Tom, thanks.
10 seconds away from that T-minus 40 hold. We'll see. All right, we are going to hold at T-minus 40. We're watching the temperatures on the ship right now for the ship fuel. Sounds like they're working through that. We might be able to release that hold shortly. All right, sounds like we're going to be able to reset those holds, not tracking any other holds. And clock is rolling.
So here we go. You hear the cheer from the crowd assembled there in Texas. Let's watch now. 30 seconds away from that SpaceX launch.
Flight of Starship.
Our flight director, Joe Schleicher, today is go for launch. Let's listen in as he takes us through the final seconds of the count.
T-minus 8, 7, 6, 5,
So there we are, the launch. The Starship is off the pad. In just about 10 seconds, it's going to hit what's called max Q. It's a moment of peak aerodynamic stress. That happens at just about a minute and 2 seconds into this launch. Let's watch that.
10 seconds is going to be max Q, that max aerodynamic pressure.
Max Q.
All right, so we're through max Q. That's the heaviest stresses.
Let me bring in
kind of
Tom Costello back now. We saw something that we did not see earlier this week, and that is the launch. It is really a sight to see, Tom. And the next big milestone that we're going to want to watch comes about 7 minutes in. So just about 5 minutes from now. I know you're watching this, too. That is when that booster comes back down for that chopsticks hold that's so critical. I'm using the colloquial term for it, of course, right?
No, that's right. I mean, that's going to be a critical moment there at about 7 minutes in. The next big moment coming up right now is going to be at 2 minutes, 32 seconds. That's when we have what's called super heavy MECO. Most engines are cut off. So that's going to be critical as this continues to then propel on into space. There are 30 cameras all over this vehicle to give us these incredible views. Never before have we had such an incredible view of a rocket that is rocketing all the way into space. And we're going to be listening closely now as we have what's called staging as well, where the Raptor ignition and then stage separation occurs.
The clamps holding the two stages together are going to release, and Starship second stage engines will
booster engine cut off.
So far, so good. Perfect so far.
Leroy, let me bring you into this here because there it goes.
Boost back burn startup.
So now we wait and watch to see if that booster can end up in the hold. Leroy, to you here, because the whole point of this, right? Starship wants to create the first fully reusable rocket, essentially, in order to make transport to the moon and Mars much less a sci-fi thing and much more in the real world of possibility. That would be hugely significant, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Starship has already just astounded everyone in the business. Just their flight tests have been incredibly successful. I mean, to the layperson, it may look like, oh, it blew up, this blew up. But the fact that they have already caught this booster twice with that chopstick mechanism, if you will. And by the way, it was pointed out earlier that this is the largest rocket ever to fly, the most powerful rocket ever to fly, much more powerful than even the Saturn moon rockets and the current NASA SLS rockets. Being a fully reusable system when it's certified, that is going to be a game changer. That's going to greatly and dramatically reduce the cost of launching things into space and bringing things back. And yeah, Elon Musk has designed and developed this rocket because he says one day a version of it will take around 100 people at a time to Mars, because he said he started SpaceX way back in, I believe, 2002 because he wanted to colonize Mars, and he himself wants to be a colonist on Mars. So exciting to watch how quickly this program has developed and how successful it's been. And looks like this launch so far, flawless ascent. So the ship looks like it's doing well, and hopefully it'll make it over to its destination as well.
And we are under 3 minutes away now, Dr. Rice, from looking for that next sort of really significant moment here when the booster is set to return back to the launch pad. But talk through sort of SpaceX's position here in this new space race, if you will, and the way that the company is looking to make inroads, as is Blue Origin's, as are other private companies working with NASA.
Yeah. SpaceX is certainly key to the next kind of generation of space exploration. SpaceX, the Starship especially, so the top of this rocket, the bottom is the Super Heavy booster. We're going to see it come back down. The Starship is the top of it, is basically a rocket in and of itself as well. That's got Raptor engines on it. It's going to do the soft splashdown in the Indian Ocean. That is basically a predecessor for what's called the Human Landing System that will eventually be in orbit around the moon and is going to be necessary for our Artemis 3 mission astronauts to go from the moon in the Orion capsule, or from in orbit around the moon on the Orion capsule to a lunar landing, which is what I'm looking forward to in particular.
Yeah. Tom, let me go back to you for a second here while we have this minute before we listen back in, because there was a moment, we saw this back in January, as you alluded to, the breakup over the Caribbean, over Turks and Caicos. Yeah. That is something that obviously we'll also be watching for here tonight. SpaceX doesn't want to see that happen again. And they've made some of those changes to hope that it won't.
Yeah, that's right. They've made aerodynamic changes. They've also tried to work on the actual the avionics, if you will, on the ship. That was Starship itself, not the rocket booster.
That's right.
The rocket booster right now is coming back down. I mean, look at this shot. An amazing shot. The booster is coming back down. It will come back down to the pad and will be caught by those chopsticks.
Once again, we're going to ignite first the Center 13 engines. We should see that coming up here momentarily.
Engines in startup.
This is going to come down to 3 engines as the booster slows down for its landing. And we just heard the sonic boom.
Look at that. It's amazing.
What an incredible sight to see the Super Heavy booster gliding down into the chopstick arms once again.
Stuck the landing.
Wow. That will never get old.
All right. We saw
and
12 out
Tom,
of 13
Leroy, Dr. Rice, this is exactly what SpaceX wanted to see. Tom, I mean, they took the words right out of my mouth. You got to think, for them, it does not get old. This is exactly what they want to see. In fact, they need to see it and to be able to pursue what they want to do.
Those are going to continue.
They stuck the landing. I mean, that's an amazing feat, engineering feat. Nobody else in the world can do that. Nobody else in the world has ever done that. And SpaceX continues to do that with their engineering expertise and prowess. An amazing accomplishment because they want to reuse the booster. So this is all about saving money. If you can reuse the booster, as SpaceX does, but if you can reuse the booster on a mega ship like that, that's a big savings. Separately, let me tell you now, a Starship will continue on into space at an altitude of about 214 kilometers, 40 minutes, if you will, coasting in space before it finally, hopefully, splashes down in the Indian Ocean. So far, this has been absolutely a perfect mission.
Emily, let me go to you because there's also the deployment, at least I believe this was the case, of some of these Starlink satellites, mock deployment, I should say, because that is another piece of what SpaceX wants to see here.
Yeah. This mission, especially the payload and the payload release, is key. It's the first time that Starship will have done this. It was supposed to happen in the January one that we lost the Starship before it got far enough along in the mission and to be able to deploy these satellites. They've scaled back the number of simulator satellites that are on the mission. I'm not sure
Tom,
exactly
let me go to
why.
you. I'm sorry, Emily, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Tom's waving me down because there's an issue. Tom, what's going on?
Guys, we apparently have a problem with Starship. They apparently had started to lose control of Starship, and they lost at least 1 or 2 engines. And if you'll look, it almost appears that it is, let's bring audio up if we can from Mission Control, but it almost appears as if The ship has been somersaulting.
Recently joined us, we had a successful liftoff of the 8th test flight of Starship, followed by a successful stage separation. We saw the booster, actually, you can see it just behind us here. The booster had a successful catch back at the tower. Unfortunately, it seems as though we lost the attitude control of the ship. We are standing by as we listen in with the teams on the nets to understand what information we're able to provide you. We will provide that as soon as we are able, but it's pretty incredible to take a moment and see the booster just behind us. Certainly a different view than last time.
And at this point, we've essentially lost contact with the ship. We're no longer receiving telemetry at this moment. So we were only...
Leroy Chow, let me go to you on this. Leroy, I think you're still with us. Leroy, when they say they've lost attitude control, what does that mean in plain English? Translate some of this for us.
Well, yeah, basically they've lost the ability to point the vehicle in the right direction and keep it stable. And so, you know, hopefully they got enough telemetry before they lost contact to figure out what went wrong so they can fix it for next time. This is what happens in spaceflight. This is why you test. This is, you know, this is the quickest way to develop a new system. And Elon Musk says you got to go break things. And he's right. Test, test, test. Figure out what's wrong, fix it, make it more robust, go test some more. You know, it's more expensive than you know, trying to engineer and finesse every little detail, but he wants to go fast. He wants to get this rocket up and operating as quickly as possible. So, you know, we're going to expect to see some losses like this. It's unfortunate, but as they were saying, the really nice thing is that they had another completely successful booster flight, and including the flyback and the catch.
Leroy, it is, listen, these kinds of things happen, right? I'm going to let Tom listen in for a little bit longer to Mission Control and to the SpaceX team who we were just showing you. But Emily, I'll bring you in here. This is part of sort of big picture, the process of figuring out how to get humans to space on a more long-term basis. You know, I mean, this is, there are setbacks. SpaceX is no stranger to those setbacks. Obviously, part of this mission was successful with that chopsticks catch that we're looking at with the booster. But they need Starship. They need to figure out these kinks with Starship to be able to move on, right, with their process.
Yeah. The booster is amazing. The booster is key. Like the booster has been done before on the barge and now on the hard ground with the super heavy booster. But Starship is also super, super crucial. Like I said, it's the predecessor for the human landing system that will get humans back to the moon's surface. So NASA's the Orion capsule that's taking people that is going to be part of the Artemis 2 mission next year is on the NASA's Space Launch System. But the Starship is the predecessor for the component that will take humans from the orbit of the moon, in orbit around the moon on the Orion capsule to the surface. And so we really, really need Starship to have another lunar landing, humans on the moon again in this generation.
Of course, the second time in a row that the catch worked, but Starship failed here. Leroy, I'll give you some final thoughts because, listen, we will eventually find out what specifically happened and where they go from here. If I recall correctly, back in January, we carried that launch live as well, and we had just gotten off the air, so it was just maybe 45 minutes or an hour or so into it that we started to see some of those images coming in from social media of those. It almost looked like fireworks in the sky over Turks and Caicos, right? So we don't have any of that yet. There is no indication that has happened. Just to be clear, I only bring it up to make the point that things will continue to develop. We will continue to learn more, and SpaceX is going to keep pushing forward here, it sounds like.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, this is a flight test, and ship is unlike any other vehicle ever, you know, created. And you can think of it as like a super advanced space shuttle of sorts that's designed to go farther than just low Earth orbit. I mean, the space shuttle was just an amazing vehicle. I had the good fortune to fly on 3 different shuttle missions, as well as a Russian rocket. But, you know, shuttle, especially when you consider it was designed back in the 70s and made its first flight in 81, it's still just an amazing vehicle. Nobody else has done anything close to that, no other country or anything. But Starship is going to far surpass Space Shuttle. And so it's going to take a little while to get it to where, get all the kinks worked out, get it to, you know, he's still got to do like a life support system, for example, to be able to take care of the crew that's going to be on board. But these are the first steps, and it's disappointing that it appears that they've lost this ship, but they're going to keep going.
Leroy Chow, Dr. Emily Rice, thank you both very much for being with us. Our thanks to Tom Costello as well. We'll be right back after a quick break. To tonight's original now with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching. And tonight, we're taking you to Oklahoma, where the state's top education official is sending Bibles to AP government classrooms. Online, posting they will soon be available. And we're not talking about just any Bibles, but the one President Trump's promoting. But state lawmakers are blocking funding to buy more Bibles this week, so the superintendent is turning to donations now instead. In some rural corners of this very red state, there's skepticism and concern. So we sent our Antonia Hilton to Oklahoma for a one-on-one with the state's superintendent of schools.
In the small town of Preston, Oklahoma, students are welcomed off the bus and into breakfast by educators who have often known their families for decades or were once students here themselves. A tight-knit pre-K through 12 with more churches than school buildings nearby, typically a world away from tensions at a state capitol, but in an era in which everything about education has been politicized. Superintendent Mark Hudson says even Preston is in the fray.
Is the rhetoric impacting educators?
Sure it is. I mean, educators already are leaving in droves. When people say things like that right there, teachers are indoctrinating kids, teachers are raising terrorists. Who would want to be a teacher?
For months, many educators have been on edge. Last year, Oklahoma's superintendent of schools, Ryan Walters, announced that the Bible must be in all of Oklahoma's classrooms. His team purchased copies of this God Bless the USA Bible, a version marketed by President Trump.
I'm proud to endorse and encourage you to get this Bible.
They're listed online for $60 each. The state couldn't confirm how much they paid when we asked. After the New Year's Day terrorist attack in New Orleans, he shared this video, suggesting teachers' unions bore some responsibility for homegrown terrorism.
You know, you have schools that are teaching kids to hate their country.
Then he asked state lawmakers for $3 million in taxpayer funds to purchase Bibles for every school. This week, they denied that request, but Walters says he's shipping out hundreds of copies already purchased to schools. And today, he's putting out a call for donations, partnering with the person who produced the God Bless the USA Bible. Preston's leaders are quietly refusing.
Sometimes we kind of feel like we're on a raft by ourselves.
Scott McCullough already wears many hats. High school principal, history teacher, coach, bus driver, a local Southern Baptist preacher. But bringing the Bible into a public school classroom seems to him a step too far.
We might make some references to the Bible, but we're not going to pull it out and bash them over the head with it either.
This morning, he's teaching his sophomores about the Trail of Tears, the forced relocation of Native American tribes in Oklahoma.
The teachers don't really step around intimate subjects because that's not what real life is going to be like. The world's not always going to be there to kind of hold your hand.
We went from the classroom to the Capitol to meet with State Superintendent Ryan Walters.
The Bible has been taken out of the classroom by left-wing extremists that want to take our history away from our kids and lie to young people about what happened throughout our history.
You recorded a video. You talk about left-wing radicals, and you also did a prayer for President Trump.
I pray in particular for President Donald Trump.
Is this really about left-wing activism, or is it about pushing your own political views?
Left-wing activism has been pushed in the classroom. We absolutely are going to protect teachers' right to pray. We are going to bring prayer back to school.
I asked again if he's pushing a Republican agenda.
We are not pushing an agenda. We're pushing an understanding of history. I prayed for an incoming president. I have the right to pray. Just as I prescribed in the video, it is up to you whether you want to pray or not. It is up to you.
But it wasn't up to the districts to play the video or to choose to not send it to parents.
That's correct. And in the video,
But that doesn't sound like religious liberty.
Oh, absolutely it does. I guess you didn't watch the whole video, because in the video I
did.
say, okay, well, so what about the part where I say you don't have to pray? What about the part where I say you don't
But you do
have
have
to
to
engage
show me praying.
You have to show a message from the superintendent over all the schools in the state.
And if they don't comply with these directives, what happens to them?
If they decide to break the law, if they decide to indoctrinate kids by not teaching them American history, they can be removed from the classroom. Their schools can face accreditation issues by not obeying the law.
The law around religion in public schools, long thought settled, may soon change in Walters' favor. A series of Supreme Court rulings in the 1960s prohibited state-sponsored religious practices, including mandatory Bible readings and school-sponsored prayer. But with recent rulings and a key case in front of the highest court now, Many conservatives hope all that will be reversed.
Traditionalists are going to have some
Back
division.
in Principal McCullough's classroom, we asked students what they believe about the separation of church and state.
As a Christian, the Bible would be nice, but just for everyone else, I don't know if that would be good.
Not all parents want their children exposed to certain religions just because they may have a different religion or no religion at all.
Do you think the Bible should be in the classroom?
Yeah, because I feel like people need it. It might get a good impact on their life. The Word of God is always good.
After a long day of teaching and administrative duties, Principal McCullough drives his own students home.
Are we hugging?
He knows these families. Many share his deep faith and his values.
See you, hon.
What does this school community mean to you?
I'm getting emotional because I'm thinking back to the teachers that taught me. They instilled in me the ability to believe in myself, that I could be whatever I wanted to be. Just where I want to be. Person in each and every situation.
He hopes they understand that if they want to hear him preach the word of God, they're always welcome in his pews.
Antonia Hilton is joining us now. Antonia, one of the things you talked about in that piece was the Supreme Court cases. Where does the legal piece of this stand right now?
Well, Hallie, there is the local and the sort of national piece to this battle. So on the local level, Superintendent Ryan Walters is facing pushback from state lawmakers, from the Republican governor of Oklahoma. But look, you really have to look at the long game here, because Oklahoma is also at the center of a key case coming in front of the Supreme Court. And that centers around a Catholic public charter school, a first-of-its-kind school receiving public money, public sponsorship from the state. Now, civil liberties groups have been pretty successful in arguing that this Catholic school is violating the separation of church and state, and they call it unconstitutional. But if it goes in front of this conservative-leaning Supreme Court and that gets overturned, that's going to change the game, not just in Oklahoma, but all around the country. And Ryan Walters has for years now seen himself as ahead of the curve and as really at the front of this movement, Hallie.
Antonia Hilton, thank you so much for that reporting. Much more to watch, as you allude to, here in the months ahead. Appreciate it. Still ahead for us here in the show, a big new first for Major League Baseball, how the league's trying to take human error out of the game by taking humans out of some positions. That's next. So Major League Baseball is testing out a new way to try to take human error out of the game with this spring training for the first time ever. Players getting the ability to challenge balls and strikes. That totally upends the role of umpires in this nearly 2-century-old sport. But if it all goes smoothly, we could see this new technology in big league parks by next season. How does it work? Jesse Kirsch has the breakdown.
Love it.
He got him looking.
Or hate it.
Called strike three, and Schwarber is
when a baseball umpire calls strike three, no amount of shouting will change the outcome. But that might be about to change.
And we're going to have a challenge here from the catcher.
Right now, Major League Baseball is using spring training to test an automated ball strike system, or ABS, which lets players challenge an umpire's pitch call. Here's how it works. Only the pitcher, catcher, or batter can challenge by tapping their head right after the umpire's call. Then within seconds, using a series of cameras around the field, the program shows the fans at the ballpark or watching on TV where the pitch crossed the plate in relation to the strike zone. The experimental system is being used in about 60% of this year's spring training games and is already seeing plenty of action.
And that is just fractionally a ball.
Including this successful challenge by the New York Yankees that turned an inning-ending strikeout into a 3-run rally.
It's been a good little process so far.
We caught up with the Bronx Bombers at their spring training home in Tampa, Florida, to get their perspective on the new system.
I think it's good for baseball.
I don't know if I'm really that much in favor of it. I like that human element part of it.
Fans are also divided.
It's how it's been for the last 100+ years. That's how it should stay.
Can definitely see the advantage of it.
If nothing else, ABS is already providing some entertainment, like when this umpire announced that his call had been confirmed.
Call is surprisingly correct.
Some call ABS a robo-umpire, and if MLB ever completely eliminated that human element, we'd lose the sarcasm and the drama of those nose-to-nose shouting matches. Yankees manager Aaron Boone is no stranger to being tossed from a game.
If you completely got rid of the umpires, who would you yell at?
I'd yell at somebody.
We did not meet anyone who totally wants the umpires out of here.
Hell no. No shot. Getting rid of umpires is crazy. As long as they keep the umpires there, I got no problem.
The league tested ABS extensively in the minor leagues last year and says in AAA, just over half of challenged calls were overturned. Baseball has recently seen a number of major changes, like a pitch clock, larger bases, and defensive realignments, all of it part of an effort to modernize the game. But the question remains, is this system ready for prime time?
Major League Baseball says it's going to ask for player feedback and says we could see ABS used in the regular season as early as next year. Hallie?
Jesse Kirsch, thank you very much for that. That does it for us for this hour. I'll see you right back here on Sunday on Nightly News and right back here Monday on NBC News Now. More coverage picks up right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.